Kenny Games here. Welcome back to my channel. I'm back with a long-awaited video that I have been promising over and over again. I'm finally getting around to doing it. I'm so sorry. But yeah, we're finally gonna make all the recipes from Disney Dreamlight Valley, the Rift in Time update. So this is specifically just for recipes from the update. So obviously not from the update, from the DLC. So if you don't have the Rift in Time DLC, you won't be able to make these. But for those of you that do have the DLC and have been looking for the recipes, we're going to go through them today. We're going to make them all, and yeah, why don't we just head straight over to it. This is going to be the first time for me cooking a lot of these dishes, so I'll be going through it all with you. Okay, so why don't we start with the first dish, which is arepas con queso. Obviously, apologies in advance for any spelling or rather pronunciation issues with these dishes. Some of them obviously are dishes that I'm not familiar with, so I don't fully know the correct way to say them, so I do apologize if I mispronounce anything. So we're going to start off with some cheese, then we need some agave and corn. Now, my only issue is I don't know where agave comes under. I don't even know what it looks like. So we're off to a fantastic start here. Here we go. It's the weird, I think it's meant to be aloe vera type stuff. Or at least that's what it looks like, I guess. But it looks like a slug to me, and I'm guessing that's not exactly what it is. I think it's just the way it looks like because I'm not familiar with it. So we've got agave, and then we want corn. Now, luckily, I am familiar with corn, so here we go. Here's the arepas con queso, and they look good. They look good, to be fair. Okay, next up that we're making is baozi. Sorry again for the pronunciations. For that, we're gonna need some wheat. We're also going to need some soya, pork, and spice. So, soya. Where does the soya come under again? The vegetables, I think. Okay, let's just go through it all. It's going to be easier. There we go. There's the soya. And then we want some pork, which is going to be right at the end. It is a shame that it doesn't have its own separate meat category. And then we just want a spice, so that's going to be easy. We'll go into the seasonings here. Why don't we just add some paprika? And there's the baozi. These look like bao buns, so I guess baozi is like maybe the correct term for them. Now we want to make barbecued brilliant blue starfish. So for that we need some mint and we need some starfish. Specifically the blue starfish, which for some reason isn't under the fish. Okay. Is it? Oh, okay. So it comes under the sea, like seafood. Okay. Well, that's good to know. And here's our barbecued brilliant blue starfish. Then we want to do the barbecued pretty pink starfish, which is the pink starfish, but then we're also going to need some paprika as well. Then we're going to make bulgur salad, which is going to require some wheat. Then we're also going to need some tomato. Where's my vegetables? There we go. Then we need mint, spice, and cucumber. So let's add in the cucumber whilst we're here. Let's add in the mint and then add in some spice. We can add in some more paprika. And here's our bulgur salad. Then we need clam juice, which is going to take... Oh, God, not a cabbage. My cabbages. Okay, we're going to need a tomato. And we're also going to need a clam. Here we go. Oh, doesn't that look appetizing? Okay, we're gonna make some coleslaw, which is carrot and cabbage. Okay, here's the cabbage and there's the carrot. Oh, that looks good. I'm a big fan of coleslaw. I love coleslaw. Okay, now we want conch ceviche. Ceviche. Which is going to need a onion. We're also going to need a tomato. Then we're also going to need lemon and sea snail. So, if I go to the fruits, get my lemon. And then get my sea snail. Here we go. I mean, that looks pretty cool. That looks like a fancy dish. Then we're going to make crab melts, which is going to be crab and cheese. So there's my crab. Now let's get some cheese. Oh, that looks good too. Now we're going to make some dumplings. For that, we're going to need some wheat. We're also going to need some vegetable meat and soya. Okay. Where is the soya again? This was the thing that I couldn't work out. Is it in here? Yeah, there's the soya. So we need some sort of meat. Oh, which we need to go into all for. Okay, why don't we just take a bit of pork. And vegetables. So we just need a vegetable. Why don't we do a carrot? And there's our dumplings. Oh, the dumplings look so good. The dumplings is a good recipe. Okay, why don't we make some falafel, which is going to be beans, garlic, and cumin. So there's my garlic. There's the cumin. And then we're going to need some beans. Where do the beans come under? Now that's interesting. I don't know what category they're going to... Oh, there we go. Under the dairy. And here's our falafels. Now we need nuts and bolts, which is almonds and robot fish. So where's my robot fish? There we go. And then I need some nuts, and I don't know where the nuts come under. Where do nuts come under? What are they under? Like dairy? Would they be? No. I have no idea what category nuts would be under. Like literally, what would you think they would come under? Okay, we can't find them. Oh my god, are they under fruit? Oh, they're under fruit. Okay. These categories, I swear, are so confusing. Would you consider almonds a fruit? Are they a fruit? I don't know. Well, they can't be. They're a nut, right? And nuts are different from fruits. Okay, well, we need some almonds again, so I'll throw them in because we're going to make some roasted almonds, which means we need the almonds and we need some agave as well. And there's our roasted almonds. Now we're going to make some nice tea drinks. So we're going to start off with the royal iced tea, which we need a slush ice for. And then we need some majesty, which I don't know where that's going to come under either. This is going to be fun. Oh, there we go. Okay, so it's in this section. That's good to know. Oh, that looks so good. That looks so tasty. Okay, royal latte is going to be majesty and some milk. So let's get that going. Oh, see, this looks so good. I'm going to be decorating so much with these drinks for sure. And then if we head down and we just cook up the one majesty, and then we'll get our royal tea, which looks really good as well. Now we need to make sandworm carpaccio plate, which is melon and sandworm. So let's head to the fruits to get our melon. Here we go. Okay, I'm guessing sandworm counts as dairy then. Since it came up with all the dairy stuff. Now we're going to make shad ceviche, which is going to need a shad, which hopefully I can find in my fish. Oh my goodness. There we go, yes. We need tomato and onion. tomato, onion, and then I think we need some paprika. No, we need some lemon, sorry. So let's go up to the fruits. Okay, there's our shad ceviche. And then we're going to make a spicy scorpion skewer, which that's going to take the scorpion. Which, where would a scorpion come under? Okay, so there's our scorpion. Now we need some paprika. Here we go. And there's our lovely skewer. Now we want to make a takoyaki stick, which is going to need some seaweed. Where am I going to get my seaweed from? Oh, here we go. There's our seaweed. We need some octopus egg and soya. So there's our egg. There's our soya. And then we need the octopus, which we've got there. Yay! Oh, that looks so good. I love takoyaki. Okay, now we want to make 1,000 needles, which we need a blue starfish, we need a pink starfish, and then we need some cacto berries, which I'm hoping maybe comes under the fruit category. Yes, it does. Okay, let's make this up. Well, that looks interesting. Okay, next up we're going to make tomato basil soup, which I'm surprised is one of these recipes. But let's go ahead and make that. There's our tomato. And then we need the basil. And there's our tomato basil soup. And then we want to make vegetarian dumplings, which is going to need the soya, which I think comes under here. Then we're going to need some wheat. And then we're going to need a vegetable. Okay, so that's the start or the end of the appetizers there. Why don't we go on to the entrees? Now, before I move on to the entrees, I am going to empty out my inventory just so that I have a bit more room for making the dishes. Okay, and we're back, so let's get started with the entrees now. So we're going to make ahiko. I think that's how you say that. Again, apologies if it's not. We're going to need a potato. We're also going to need some corn. And then we're going to need some poultry. Okay. Next up, we need to make some baked beans. I am a big fan of baked beans. Of course I am. I am British. I think it's a mandatory requirement. For this, we need beans, and then we also need some pork. Which actually, one of my favorite dishes at the moment to eat is beans on toast, but with like crispy bacon bits. Oh, so good. So good. But yeah, there's our baked beans. Now we want to make best fish forever, which you'll probably know how to do because it's part of the Eve quest line. But we need a robot fish to begin with. Then we also need some celery, cumin, and a sea snail. So let's get that sea snail. Let's get the cumin. And then we just need the celery. Okay, now our next dish that we want to make is biryani, which is poultry, rice, cumin, mint, and cinnamon. I have made this before actually, so I'm just going to go and select it from the menu, just because it will speed things up a bit. But here you go. You can see that we need some poultry. We need the rice, which we've got here. We need the cumin. We need the mint. And we need the cinnamon as well. So let's autofill that. Now, the next dish that we're going to make is blend of the bayou, which for that we're going to need some rice. We're also going to need some celery. Then we're going to need some Prisma shrimp. Then we're also going to need some butter and some spice. So there's our butter, and then let's get our spice as well. Oh, now that dish looks good. That looks very tasty. Now we're going to make Boni Osu Buko, which we're going to need a skeleton fish for. Which, these are the most interesting fish in game. Like, I'm surprised they added that. Then we're going to need some celery again. Then we're also going to need some grapes and a vegetable. So I'm going to shove the carrot in there whilst I'm here. And then we'll head down and we will grab our grapes. Okay, next dish that we need to make is braised abalone. For that, we're going to need an oyster. We're also going to need a sea snail. And then we're also going to need some garlic and a mushroom. Okay, next up we have braised bamboo shoots. For that we're going to need some bamboo. We're then also going to need some soya. And then we're also going to need some ginger and canola. There's our ginger. Now the interesting thing is, where do we get the canola? There we go, finally found it. There's our braised bamboo shoots. Next dish that we need to make is brandada di moro. Sorry again for the pronunciation on that, because I know I've absolutely butchered that. But we're going to need some milk. We're also going to need a potato. Then we're going to need to go and get some lemon. And then we're also going to need some garlic and cod. So there's our cod. And then let's head down and grab our garlic. That looks good. Whatever that is, it looks good. It looks a bit like a fish pie. Next up, we're going to need to make a burrito. So let's get our wheat. Then we're going to need some beans. There we go, there's our beans. Then we're going to need some cumin and some meat. So there's our cumin. And then here's our meat. Oh, that burrito looks good. I love a burrito, I do. Okay, next up we're going to make some butter chicken. I'm a big fan of butter chicken too. So let's get our poultry. Then we're going to need some butter. We're also going to need tomato, lemon and cumin. So let me grab the lemon whilst we're on this page. And then we'll grab the cumin. And then we'll grab the tomato. Oh, see, that looks like a good dish. Next up, we're going to be making a cheeseburger, which I think I have already made. I have indeed. So for the cheeseburger, you're going to need some venison. You need some wheat. You need some cheese. And then you just need a vegetable. So here's our cheeseburger. Then we're going to make chicken Slovakia, which is going to take some poultry. Oh, I need to be in the all menu. Okay, there's our poultry. Then we're going to need some lemon, paprika, and mint. Next, we're going to make a classic mac and cheese. For that, we need some cheese and we need some wheat. And there's our classic mac and cheese, which absolutely looks banging. I love a mac and cheese. Next up, we're going to make a club sandwich. For this, we're going to need some pork. We're then also going to need some poultry. And then we also need some wheat and tomato. Okay, next up we have cooking bar buoy, I think. For that, we're going to need some poultry again. Then we're also going to need some onion, grapes, and vegetable. So there's our onion. Here's our vegetable. And then let's get our grapes. Next, we want to make a cream cheese bagel. So for this, we're going to need our wheat. We're going to need some cheese. And then we also need any kind of sweet. So let's just add sugarcane. Next up, we're going to make a crimson burger. For that, we're going to need some wheat. We're also going to need any vegetable. And then we're also going to need some ruby lentils, which I think I saw in here. No, I didn't. Oh, I saw them in here. They're in the dairy category. Okay, next up, we're going to make a dragon roll maki. For that, we're going to need an electric eel. Then we're also going to need some rice. We're also going to need some seaweed. If I even remember what category the seaweed comes under. Apparently not. Oh, there we go. It's under the vegetables. Okay, and then we're also going to need a vegetable. So let's just throw in a zucchini. Oh, and that looks so good. That does look really good. Okay, let's make some fabulous fajitas. Okay, for that, we're going to need some poultry. Okay, then we're also going to need to have 2 types of vegetable. So in you go and in you go. And then we're also going to need some wheat and cumin. So let me grab the cumin here. And then let's grab the wheat. Oh, they look so good. Oh, it's going to make me hungry doing all this. Next, we have to make a good old-fashioned burger. And for this, we're going to need some venison. This is a posh old burger. Then we're going to need some wheat and some lettuce. Next up, we're going to make some hamburger steak. For this, we need some more venison. Then we're also going to need a vegetable. Then we're also going to need a potato. Oh, yeah, we need a potato. I almost got that wrong then. Yes, we need venison, vegetable, potato, and then we need some beans. And there is our hamburger steak. Next up, we're going to make a Hawaiian pizza, which is going to hurt me a little inside to make. Tell me now, do you agree with pineapple on pizza? Is it something that you're willing to have? Is it something you're against? Obviously, I'm quite against pineapple. I mean, I don't like pineapple, which is why I'm against it on pizza. I'm pretty sure if I liked pineapple, it probably wouldn't be such a big deal. But because I absolutely hate pineapple, that is why I am against it. Let's get out the pineapple that we need from the fruits. And then we need the cheese. So for this recipe, we have the pork, we have the wheat, we have the tomato, we have the pineapple, and the cheese. And there is our Hawaiian pizza, which I can't wait to throw in the trash. Next up, we're going to make some jerk chicken. I'm a big fan of jerk chicken, actually. There's our poultry that we need for it. Then we're also going to need an onion. We're also going to need some spice and garlic. So let's add our garlic here, and then let's add our spice. Next up, we have latkes. Latkes? I don't know how you say that. For that, though, we are going to need an onion. We're also going to need a potato. We are then also going to need some canola. And then we also need an egg. They look good. They look very, very tasty, to be fair. Okay, next up we're going to make some low fries. So for that we need some flute root. Here we go. Then we're also going to need canola and yam. Which there's our yam. And then let's grab our canola. Oh, that's so interestingly arranged, like how it's kind of like staggered on that like plate, square plate. It looks like a bacon dish. Okay, next up we're gonna make a meat pie. So we need some meat. Okay, there's our meat. We need some butter and some wheat. Oh, that looks like a good meat pie. I tell you what, sometimes the food in this game looks so good. Next up, we're going to be making a meaty taco. And for that, we're going to need some venison. Then we're also going to need some corn. Then we're also going to need a vegetable. And then we're going to need some cumin and chili pepper. So there's our cumin. And then there's our chili pepper. And here's our meaty taco, which also looks really, really good. Now we're going to make a Milky Way stew. So for that, we're going to need some rainbow trout. Okay. Then we're going to need some turnip. Then we're going to need milk and cosmic figs. So there's our milk. And then let's get our cosmic figs. Oh, this looks so cute. It's such a cute dish. I don't think I'd probably want to eat that in real life. It looks a bit suspect, but it is a very pretty looking dish in game. Next up, we're going to make macaca de piraku. Pirahu. I don't know how you say that again, so apologies. Let's get this pirahu fish. I really don't know how you say that. Then we're going to need some coconut. Next up, we're going to need two vegetables, I should say. So in you go, and in you go. Oh, this looks so good. I would try that. Okay, next up we're going to be making some nachos, which we need some chili pepper for. Then we need some cheese and corn. And there's our lovely looking nachos right there. Okay, next up we're going to be making pasta with herbs. So for that we need some wheat to start off with. Then we're going to be getting some butter and some spice. And there's our pasta with herbs. Next up, we're going to be making pesto with linguine. For that, we need some wheat. Then we need some butter. And then we also need some oregano and garlic. And here's our pesto with linguine. Next, we're going to be making piquant piranha soup. For that, we need a piranha. Okay, there's our piranha. Then we're going to need some chili pepper and bamboo. Okay, there's our chili pepper and there's our bamboo. Okay, next up we're going to be making some poutine. So for that we need a potato, then we're going to need some cheese and some canola. And there's our poutine dish. Next up we're going to be making some pulled pork. So for that we're going to have to go grab some pork. Then we're going to need some onion, oregano and tomato. So here is our onion, here is our tomato, and then here is our oregano. I've got to say that probably doesn't actually look that appetizing. I'm a bit of a fan of pulled pork though. Next up we're going to make pupusas revueltas. Again, sorry for the pronunciation on this dish. And for this, we're going to need some poultry, corn, and beans. So here's our corn. Here's our beans. And then we have to get our poultry. Okay, next up we're going to be making rainbow base, and for that we're going to need a prisma shrimp. Then we're also going to need some rainbow trout. Then we're also going to need some seafood. So let's just throw in a lobster. Then we're going to need a vegetable and a tomato. Next up, we're going to be making some ramen. For that, we're going to need some wheat. We're also going to need some egg. And then we're going to need some pork. My inventory's full. Okay, let's drop one of these dishes then. And there is our ramen, which absolutely looks delicious. Okay, now that my inventory's full, let me empty some of this out so we can continue cooking the rest of the recipes. Okay, now we're back to it. Let's start off with the Rhapsody roll, for which we're going to need some rice. Then we're also going to need some flute root. Then we're also going to need some seaweed and another vegetable. And there's our Rhapsody roll, which looks really good. Then we're going to make a roast. For that, we're going to need some meat. So let's cook up some pork. And that looks really good. Next, we're going to be making a royal burger, for which we're going to need some pork and some venison. Then we're also going to need some vegetable, wheat, and cheese. Let's get the cheese in there. Let's get the wheat in there. And then let's get ourselves a vegetable. And there is our royal burger, which, to be fair, just looks like a hamburger with bacon. Then we're going to be making ruby masoor dal. For that, we're going to need chili pepper. We're going to need some tomato. Then we're also going to need some ruby lentils. Then next up, we're going to be making some sand stew. For that, we're going to need a June bopper. We're also going to need a sandfish, which is one of my favorite fishes in game. We're also going to need a sandworm, which I think comes under the dairy here. Does indeed. And then we're going to need some vegetable and spice. And here is our sand stew. Next up, we're going to be making a sausage and sauerkraut platter. For that, we're going to need some pork. We're also then going to need some cabbage and potato. Not an onion. And there's our sausage and sauerkraut platter. Next up, we're going to be making some schnitzel, for which we're going to need some poultry, wheat and canola. So let me get the wheat here. Let me also get the canola, and then we can get that poultry. And there's our schnitzel dish. Next up, we're going to make a sesame seed bagel, for which we're going to need some wheat. And then we're also going to need a sweet. So let's throw in some vanilla. And there is our sesame seed bagels. Next up, we're going to need some, we're going to make some shawarma. For that, we're going to need some venison. Then after that, we're going to need some cinnamon, garlic, rice, and lemon. So here's our lemon. Here's our rice. And then here's our cinnamon and our garlic. And there's our shawarma. Next up, we're going to make shish tao. Again, apologies for the pronunciation on that if it is indeed incorrect. We're going to need some poultry for this. Then we're going to need some rice. Then we're going to need some lemon, oregano, and garlic. So there's our lemon. There is our oregano, and there is our garlic. Next up, we're going to be making a sweet and sour stir fry. So for that, we're going to need some poultry to begin with. Then we're going to need some dream mango. Then we're going to need some pineapple. Then we're going to need some canola. And we're also going to need some broccoli. Then next up, we're going to be making some tandoori chicken. So for that, we're going to need some poultry again. Then we're going to need some chili pepper. We're also going to need some cumin and some paprika. Next up, we're going to be making some tofu. And for that, we need some soya. And that is it. Then next up, we're going to be making some tortilla. Again, apologies for the pronunciation. We're going to need some venison for this. Then we're also going to need some wheat. We're also going to need potato and a vegetable. So there's our potato and there's a vegetable. Oh, that looks good. It looks like a meat pie. Next up, we're going to be having some turkey leg. So let's go get our poultry. Then we're going to need some cumin and agave. So there's our cumin. There's our agave. And then we're also going to need some paprika. Next up, we're going to make some turnip tartiflette, which for that, we're going to need some pork. Then we're going to need some cheese and turnip. So here's our turnip. And then let's get our cheese. Next up, we're going to need vegetarian turnip tartiflette. For that, we're going to need the mushrooms. We're also going to need some turnip. And we're going to use some soya. And then for the last part of this, we're going to make some yakisoba. For that, we're going to need some pork. Then we're going to need some wheat. And then we're also going to need some cabbage. And there is your delicious yakisoba. Now, that's it for the entrees. Let's go ahead and make some desserts once I've emptied out my inventory. Okay, so let's get started on these desserts. For this, we're going to need, for the first one, we're going to make some apple sauce, which is going to require some apple and then some cinnamon. Then we're going to make some basil berry salad. For that, we're going to need some blueberries. Then we're going to need some strawberries. And then we're going to need some basil. Then we're going to make some cannoli, which for that, we're going to need some wheat. And then we're going to need some eggs. Then we're going to need some vanilla and cheese. I had some cannolis when I was in New York and I wasn't impressed with them. They weren't my thing, which is a shame because they do look delicious, but just flavor-wise, they weren't it for me. Next up, we're going to make some caramel macarons, and for that, we're going to need some almonds. Wherever the almonds are. They're not with the peanuts. Oh, they're here. They're in the fruits. Then we're going to need some egg and some agave. Now, they look delicious. Next up, we're going to make some charlotte cake. Not entirely sure what charlotte cake is. We're going to need some wheat. We're going to need some agave. And then we're going to need some strawberries. Oh, that looks so good. That looks really tasty. Next up, we're going to be making some chocolate macaroons. For that, we're going to need some almonds. Then we're going to need some egg. And we're also going to need some cocoa bean. Making all these desserts, I'm now wondering if I should do like a cake shop build in the sweet castle thing, house skin. I think that would be a good idea. I'm thinking that's what we do. Okay, next up, we're going to need to make a cinnamon donut. For that, we're going to need some cinnamon. Then we're going to need some wheat, egg, and sweet. So let's add the sweet in first. And then we can grab our wheat. And we can grab our egg. And there's our cinnamon donut, which looks really, really good. Then we're going to make some cotton candy, which we need some sugarcane and agave. So there's our sugarcane, there's our agave. And there is our cotton candy. Then we're going to make a croissant, which we need wheat and butter for. And there's our gorgeous looking croissant. Then we're going to make some cupcakes, which we need some wheat. Then we're going to need some egg. Then we're also going to need some cherries. And some agave. Oh, they look so cute. They're a really cute item. Okay, then we're going to make a Danish, which for that we're going to need some butter. Then we're going to need some wheat. Then we're going to need 2 fruit. So let's add in a blueberry and an apple. Oh, they look so good. So tasty. Okay, then we're going to be making Dream Mango Boba Tea. For that, we're going to need some milk. Then we're going to need a Dream Mango. And then we're going to need some sugar cane. And that looks really delicious. Then we're going to make some French macaroons, which are going to take almonds and egg. Then we're going to make a fruit milkshake, which is going to take slush ice, milk, and fruit. So let's get our fruit. Let's get our milk. And there's our slush ice. Next up, we're going to make the glazed donut, which for that we're going to need some wheat. Then we're going to need egg and sweet. And there's some beautiful donuts, which would make Homer Simpson proud. Then we're going to make some gourmet grubs, which again, I feel like you have to make as part of some quest line. So for that, we're going to need a sea snail. Then we're going to need a sandworm. And then we're also going to need a scorpion. And there is our gourmet grubs. Next up, we're going to make some jam macaroons. Macarons. And we're going to need some almonds for that. I almost put in beans. That wouldn't have worked. Okay, so there's our almonds. Then we're going to need some fruit and an egg. Okay, then we're going to make canelbula. I don't know what that is. I've never heard of that before. I'm intrigued to see what this looks like. So this is going to be wheat. Then we're going to need some egg. Then we're going to need some butter and some cinnamon. Ooh. That looks good. That looks tasty. Next we're going to make koing aman. Again, not entirely sure what that is. I'm excited to see what this makes. So we're going to make some wheat, or use some wheat. We're going to use some butter. We're also going to use another butter. Ooh, okay. And then we're going to need some agave. Those look so nice. Okay, they look really tasty. Next, we're going to make marmals. For that, we're going to need some wheat, apparently. Then we're also going to need some almonds and some dates. Oh, they look cute. They look a bit like biscuits, but filled with obviously like a jam inside or something. Next we're gonna make macaroni, which is gonna take some wheat. Then we're gonna need some canola. Then we're gonna need some cinnamon and dates. So there's our dates. And here is our cinnamon. Oh, that looks good too. That's like really cute looking. Okay, next we're going to make a melon boba tea. For that, we're going to need some milk. We're going to need some melon. And we're also going to need some sugarcane. That's vanilla. Don't put in vanilla. You need to put in sugarcane. There we go. Okay, then we're going to be making a moon cake. For that, we're going to need some wheat. Then we're also going to need some beans. Then we're going to need some canola. And we're going to need some agave. Again, never heard of moon cakes, but they look good. Then we're going to be making a nestling crepe. For that, we're going to need some wheat. Then we're also going to need some egg and milk. And then we're going to need a nestling pear. Oh, that looks so good. I tell you what, they really knock it out the park with the desserts in this game. Next up, we're going to be making some pastéis de nata. For that, we're going to need some corn. Then we're going to need some vanilla. Then we're going to need egg and milk. And they look really, really good. Next up, we're going to make a pear upside down cake. For that, we're going to need some nestling pear. Ooh. There we go. Then we're also going to need egg and wheat. There's our egg and there's our wheat. Next up, we're going to be making some pineapple soft serve. So for that, we're going to need some slush ice and then a pineapple. And there is our pineapple soft serve. Then we're going to make some popcorn, which we need corn and canola. And there's our popcorn. Next up, we're going to make a raspberry jam sandwich, which we need wheat and raspberry. And there's our delicious looking raspberry jam sandwich. Then we're going to make a red velvet cake, presumably. So here is our wheat. Then we need some vanilla. Then we need some egg. And then we need some cheese and cocoa bean. So there's our cheese. And then here is our cocoa bean. And there's our really cute red velvet cake, which is very Minnie inspired. Then we're going to make some spicy macarons, which we're going to need almonds, egg, and chili pepper. So let's grab the chili pepper whilst we're here. And then we'll get the almonds and the egg. Next up, we're going to make spiky berry pie, which we're going to need some cacto berries for. Then we're also going to need some wheat and some butter. And then we're also going to need some strawberries and then a little bit of spice. Next up, we're going to make a Stella milkshake, for which we're going to need some slush ice. Then we're going to need some milk and cosmic figs. Next up, we're going to be making a strawberry pie, which we're going to need some wheat, butter, and strawberry. So there's our wheat, there's our butter. And then lastly, here is our strawberry. Oh, that looks so good. The more I see these cakes, the more I'm convinced I have to do this cake shop build. Okay, next up, we're going to be doing strawberry shortcake, which is going to need wheat, egg, and strawberry. Okay. So there's our strawberry, there's our wheat, and then here is our egg. Oh, that looks so good as well. Oh my god. Okay, let's make some stuffed dates next, which is going to be almonds and dates. So let's get the almonds and then our dates. And they look pretty good. Next up, we're going to make a sugar-free banana muffin, which is going to take some wheat and banana. Okay, here is our wheat. And here is our banana. Oh, they look tasty too. Next up, we're going to make a sugar-free blueberry muffin, which is going to be wheat and blueberry. Then we're going to make a sugar-free explosion muffin. Okay, interesting. So for that, we're going to need some wheat. Then we need 2 sets of fruit. So let's throw in blueberry and an apple. And then apparently we need some agave. My inventory is full again. Oh no. Okay. So here we go. Okay, so they're the sugar-free fruit explosion muffins. Let me go empty out some of my inventory. Okay, so we're back again. We only have a few more dishes to make. So our next dish is going to be a sugar-free fruit muffin. So for that, we're going to need some wheat. And then we're also going to need some fruit. But the key thing for this is not to use a fruit that's been used in one of the previous recipes. So we can't use banana and we can't use blueberry. Otherwise, it would just make the banana or the blueberry muffin. So why don't we add a coconut? And there is our sugar-free fruit muffin, which actually looks like it's got raspberries on it. Okay, next up we're going to make is sweet popcorn. For that, we're going to need corn, canola, and agave. So there's our canola. There is our corn. And then here is our agave. Then we're going to need to make some sweet tofu, which is going to be some soya and fruit. So there's our soya, and then here's our fruit. Next up, we're going to make some taiyaki, which for that we're going to need some sandfish and then some beans. So there's our beans. And then let's get our sandfish. Oh no, that's a sandworm. Don't get those two muddled up. We need a sandfish. And there's our taiyaki. And then we're going to make, as our last dish, we're going to make some vanilla macarons. Which for that, we're going to need some almonds. Then we're going to need some egg. And then we're also going to need some vanilla. And there you have it. That is all the ingredients there, or recipes I should say, from the Eternity Isle Rift in Time expansion. So if we come in here, we look at our meals, here we have it, 100%. So these are all our appetizers are done. Then we've got all our entrees which are done, which look incredible. And then lastly, we have all our desserts, which look super good. And I am 100% convinced now I need to open a cake shop over in the little sweet candy house. I think it's going to be the perfect match and the perfect way to use all this food that I've cooked up. So I am very excited to get on with that. But yeah, I hope this video helped you and you can make these recipes alongside me. So hopefully you can get them all crafted too. So I hope this was really informative and helpful. And yeah, we'll wrap it up there. So thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys!